You are listening to the Artwonk Podcast, a show where we take a deep dive into what it takes to be successful in marketing if you are a visual artist or craftsperson. We will explore how the art world works as well as how to better achieve your professional goals. I am Neville Parker, your host and resident Artwonk. So settle in and join me as we get today's show underway. This is episode 5, titled To Plan or Not to Plan? That is the question. Yay! Hello everyone and welcome into episode 5 of our podcast series. This one is all about critical path plans. And from the front, I'd like to apologize if you hear laughter in the background. That's because my family, when they heard I was doing a show about planning, cracked up laughing. Because they are science brains. They use linear information processes. Both of them are used to working in facts and figures that mean that if you do 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you're going to get 4, which I agree with and don't have a problem with. But as a planner, I tend to be looser in my process, and they don't always see my plan as a plan, even though I do. And a critical path plan works perfectly for people like us, ad hoc planners, people who don't want the plan to restrict our creativity. They want the plan to help us define a goal, but that's all. So the whole idea of this particular process is to come up with a series of checkpoints that enable you to know you're on the right track without actually tying you to a particular pathway. As a creative who likes to make, depending on inspiration and not so much on perspiration, and that meaning I don't really want to have to just grind out product, I want to make good art. And when good art comes from an out of left field idea, I want to be able to explore it. I still need to know that what I'm doing has some value in reaching my end goal. So a critical path plan is a really loose overriding plan that gives you a series of checkpoints that you can measure things against and make sure that you're not going too far off track. So how does it work? Well, like all plans, you do need to define some basic outlines. So I tend to work with a 5-year plan, and I have within my plan a 5-year goal, which I define for myself. Then I have a 3-year checkpoint and a 1-year checkpoint. And those are loose, but they're things that I figure in 1 year from now I need to be doing this to be still on my goal. And in 3 years from now I still need to be doing this to be on my goal. And then things we look at within that, the who, why, when, where, what's, the W grouping, they're really important. Where do I have to be in that 5-year plan to actually achieve stuff? What do I want to do? Who do I need to know? Why do I have to do this? And when should I do certain things? So the goal of a critical path plan is to tie you mentally to a process of achievement that means that you don't just simply walk in circles, have fun, but maybe not get to a point that you want to get to. So a plan's important. But also, probably just before the planning is one very, very specific definition that we need to work on, and that is, what is your idea of success? What do you think is going to be a successful thing to aim for, to make a goal worthwhile? Because a goal really on its own, it can be really fluffy, and that's fine, but it should be something that's actually a sense of success attached to it. So let's drop the 5-year and maybe bring back to a 3-year goal as a starting one. So what in 3 years would you like to have achieved with your professional career as a creative, a maker, an artist? What would you like as a point that you can look back on the last 3 years and go, hey, I've progressed, I like this, I've achieved something. So if you can work out what you deem to be success in your mind, whether that's notoriety, acceptance into a particular group, mastering a skill base, whatever you define it to be, then we need to put in place a critical path plan. I'll explain why it's called a critical path plan in a minute. But basically, let's set a goal. So have a think quickly. What type of thing would you like in the next 3 years, or by the end of the next 3 years, to have achieved? So you lock that in your mind, and then you start looking backwards from that point and go, so maybe 1 year out from now, what would I need to have achieved to get towards that goal? Something that I know I need to have done. It gives you a formal approach that at least keeps you moving forward, but it also helps you start to identify some of the things that you're going to have to deal with. So if we pick as a hypothetical somebody who wishes to get to a certain place in a market, and by that I mean they want to be seen within a certain framework, whether that's showing it in a national gallery or making a particular sales goal. Doesn't really matter what. So we're going to say a dealer gallery because it's accessible for most people. I want this particular gallery that I perceive to be a really top-end gallery in my region to represent me. How do I go about that? What makes a critical path plan? Well, basically what you do is you work backwards. I've set in place the goal of X gallery. We're going to call it Gallery X. I want Gallery X to represent me. So first and foremost, I need to understand, what does Gallery X want from me? That's the what. I know where the where is. So what do they want from me? Well, they want to represent people who talk to the market that they've already established. So first thing I have to do is define or redefine my goal and go, is this actually something I can do? Do I make the type of artwork that they represent? And if I don't, can I convince them that the type of artwork I make is worthy of them? So we've identified a place, Gallery X. We've identified what we want to do. We want to be represented there. We have to identify who we need to talk to. Now we can either talk to the artists that are already represented by them to find out what types of things they need, how they got there. We can talk to the gallery director by making an appointment and asking, outright, I wish to be represented by you within the next 3 years. This is where I stand now. What things would you appreciate me doing, or what would help me get represented by you? They might say, we'll take you tomorrow. You don't know. You've got to start a dialogue. Why? Why do you want to be there is going to be one of the questions you're going to have to ask yourself. And why 3 years? Do you feel you need that long? Maybe it's actually your 1 year goal is attainable in that one. And when, which is exactly what I've just explained. So we go through these things. We start at the furthest point. We look at what it is we want to achieve, where we want to put it, who we need to talk to, why we need to do whatever it is. So we qualify the information. And the when, we just clarify when we want it all to happen. That is your critical path plan. In essence, all you've done is you've nominated a goal and a couple of key points. From then on, enacting a critical path plan is making sure you don't deviate. So I wish to be in Gallery X, and Gallery X is recognized as a dealer gallery of some standing within my community. They hit a price point that I want to aspire to sell at. They talk to a particular market that I wish to have my work represented through. They have a really good reputation as a feeder gallery for the National Gallery Service. So all the things are there. And then somebody says to me, hey, I've got this weekend stall thing happening. Would you like to join my market? Now you put it against your critical path plan. Will that gallery appreciate me being a weekend marketer? Probably not. So against my critical path plan, this would be a deviation that's probably not best for me. But I need money right now. I want to make some sales. I've got a back room full of stock. So again, look at your critical path plan. Gallery X, good long-term prospect at good price. Quick sales, not so great. So divert away from those types of things that are going to actually distract you from your core goal, and redefine the value of what you've got. So the things I've got in my back room, are they good enough to be used in Gallery X's environment when I finally get accepted? Or do I need to maybe look at other ways of turning them into capital? turn them back into materials, and so on. So a critical path plan is making sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot. What are some of the common things that I see as a dealer gallery people doing to shoot themselves in the foot? Okay, number one, and probably my biggest bugbear as a gallerist, is when a young artist shows up all full of joy and passion with wonderful artwork, directing me to their website to have a look at what it is that they do, only to show a website to me that actually has PayPal or some kind of e-commerce connection on it. That suggests to me as a gallerist that they are happy to sell direct to the public. Now, bear in mind, what is a gallery there for? A gallery there is to add value to your work and to make sales to feed the gallerist's family and their needs. So you have to look at that thing and go, do I really want to be in competition with this person? They've already established a direct chain of sale. They've already got followers, but the people that are following them are conditioned to be able to buy direct. As a gallerist, I'm more likely to pull back from that. I really know that people will do it. I know that they can stand in the gallery any day of the week with their cell phone, Google up the artist's name in front of them, and find all sorts of ways of getting direct to the artist. But if the gallery is looking for a business relationship with an artist, they're not wanting somebody who's going out of their way to make direct sales. It undermines all of the money and time and effort and expense that we put in to actually presenting somebody as a valued and valid member of our business family. So as a goal for your critical path plan to get into a gallery, you've got to start looking from the back end, looking at what it is that these businesses need and wish from you, and what are they going to give you in return. So why would you want a gallery to represent you if they're not going to let you sell direct? I keep hearing people say things like, oh, but the gallery takes X amount of dollars when they make a sale. I want to change that language. I want you to start thinking of it as a gallery earns X amount of dollars. Because if you're selling direct and you're paying a lease or rent on a stall, or you're in a fair environment and you've actually gone along, you've had to pay for that site, then there's a cost. Your time while you're standing there and serving is a cost. There's the overheads of having literature, having signage, having built a destination. All of those things are costs that you will have to either pay towards or you pay a commission. So the gallery only earns from you when they make a sale. And as such, the galleries actually, the rest of the time, they're hosting your work and building your profile for free. It's a pretty damn good deal as an artist to have gallery representation, in my view, but then I'm kind of biased, so take that how you like. So if your goal is to be represented, you need to work out what it is that the gallery wishes to have in the way of a representative relationship. Just on that one, when you're looking at it, you need to be looking at what type of people they're already supplying to the market. Who are they representing already? Because in art, there's a wonderful thing where you actually get value from the people you hang around with. A bit like if you spend your time on the streets with the local gangbangers, hanging out at the corner and looking rough, some people will steer away from you. The same thing in a gallery environment. If you're hung around well-known artists who are appreciated and recognized as value points within the marketplace, you will actually accrue the opposite effect, where people will add value to your name and your experience by them. So it's guilt by association, but in a positive way. I will make sure to spend some time on direct selling and how that can work as a positive as well. But in this example, we were talking about gallery representation. So I've identified we want to be in Gallery X. I've identified that they sell top-end artwork. I've identified I actually have a few things I have to get better at. One of them is maybe my material value. I need my canvases to be a little bit better if I'm a painter. Make sure that I've presented the painted edges the way that gallery likes to show things. I'm going to need, if I'm a sculptor or work in another medium, to make sure that I'm looking at the market point they're selling to. So if they're selling to a place that has fine furniture in their household, then make sure the bottoms of my sculptures are perfectly formed. If it's going to be for an outdoor environment, make sure that it has a life expectancy that is definitely up there, because that gallery is planning on being around for a while and they don't want to deal with people coming back saying it's faded or it's cracked or it's broken. So we have, by definition, having chosen Gallery X as our goal, given ourselves some things that we need to check off on our way towards Gallery X. We don't want to muddy the water by being known around town as somebody who will do every pop-up and every other little spot that they can get their work into. It won't help you get into X. It'll turn them off. There will be galleries, however, in your environment that will feed Gallery X. If you think of it in terms of a filter system, we are bombarded with so many offers, so much artwork. There are far more makers than there are showing spaces, and so galleries, by definition, become filters. We're looking for reasons to turn people away because we get so many offers in an average week. We will hunt out those that we think will fit our market plan, but generally speaking, we're all looking to filter things. And humans have become incredibly adept at it. In an average week in a big city in places like New York and London, people get exposed to over 30 million signs and calls to action and instructions. And all we do is we filter the noise, we filter the visual stuff out. Businesses do the same thing. So you're wanting to give them reasons to see you, not reasons to turn you away. Now, not everyone can afford a goal like Gallery X from the beginning, so you do need to have a pathway that will get you there without you going bust or losing the passion. But you can do that in measured ways. One of them is by talking to them and finding out what types of things they use as their filter. If I was to do a couple of shows a year, which shows would be the ones that would help you sell my work in the future? It's a fair question. It's a good question. It shows the gallery that you're looking long term. We will warm to that pretty quickly because we're seeing somebody who's going to be a pleasure to work with, well in advance of them maybe being able. And any gallery that won't share that type of information with you is probably one you should keep away from, because there's a good chance they don't have a critical path plan or an idea of what they're about either. Okay, so we've now identified our goal, we've identified what it is that we're wanting to achieve, we identify some of the things we should avoid. That's it. From there on, it's fully adaptive. It's fully flexible because you can do anything you want on your way, as long as none of them put you into a problem with the people you're wanting to deal with at the end point. And as you develop along the pathway, you should be looking at extending those goals out further. Once you've got one representation, you want to work out who the next one is and where they might be. If you've got social media profile, which nearly everyone does now, you're wanting to be making sure that you're actually talking about the galleries in a way that's positive and wonderful so that other galleries go, wow, I want this artist on my team. And it becomes self-fulfilling. A critical path plan, in essence, is really a pathway to success. Now, with COVID-19 and the lockdowns and the social distancing rules that different countries and different jurisdictions around the world are working with, a number of us are going to have to revisit our plans, our market plan, if we had one at all, and decide whether or not our critical path plan is actively able to handle the situation, because none of us really saw this stuff coming. So, there's still the same goal. If X still exists in the marketplace and is still talking to the same people at the end of this experience, then we still need to be aware of the fact that they're going to have similar expectations. People don't change that quickly. Our opportunities, however, may have changed. There may be more pop-ups. There might be less galleries that are allowing us to get to X through them. The whole cycle of supply, demand, of validation through experience might have changed. So having that flexibility is always a benefit when it comes to actively changing quickly. But let's face it, you're going to be making the same type of work 3 months, 4 months from now as you are today, and you're going to be making with a similar level of expertise. You will have improved on some things because we always do, but it's still going to be you, and they're still going to be them. What may change is the lag times in some of the processes. The ability for the market to react like it used to is definitely going to be off. And having that sense of where you want to be in 5 years' time will allow you to adapt within that. It's not personal. I mean, the reality is when a gallery says to you, thank you very much, but you're not the good fit for us, they're not referring to your artwork and saying your artwork is bad. They're saying that your artwork and their market plan are different, or have different goals, different outcomes attached to them. That's part of the filtering process, and we're going to experience a little bit more of that. I anticipate, because I've seen in my community one gallery recently close where there was some 30 or 40 artists that were attached. A number of them are going to hunt me out in the new phase when we're open and running again, simply because they need to find new pathways to market. And I'm going to have to understand really clearly what I want to get out of the experience I'm offering my market, so I don't get distracted by them. There will be some really good artists with some really good artwork I'm going to have to thank very much and say no thank you. It won't be a reflection on them. It will be a reflection on how much time and energy I've invested in my marketing and in fostering a relationship with a certain number and type of person that I want to talk to. And if they don't happen to fit that conversation, it's like a party where you're walking around the room and you show up just as everyone's laughing at the punchline. The joke would have been funny had you been there for it, but right now you've just got to smile politely and act like you know what's going on. It's not always perfect timing, and this is one of those times. We're going to see this happen more and more probably, because I'm anticipating there's going to be a slight boom and bust cycle to this whole lockdown, free up and lockdown again. So it's going to be disruptive, and if you have a critical path plan in place that tells you that it doesn't really matter what's happening right now, today, as long as you've got your goal set out in front of you and you understand what you shouldn't do to mess with that goal, you'll have a better chance of clicking back in line quickly. Anyway, so that's how it works. That's what a critical path plan is. My suggestion is everyone should have a rough idea of what their critical path plan is before they do a business plan. And the business plan that I'll be putting forward to you is one that is really about creativity and how to enhance your natural flow, not inhibit it. But if, again, you know where you're going, you know what you've got to do and what you shouldn't do along that way, then we will be able to make the next stage work for you really quickly. And trust me, when you're dealing with any gallery or business environment, if you're applying to be part of a market and it's a stallholder market, but you actually know exactly who your market is, who you want to talk to and why you want to talk to them and what it is you're offering them, then you'll find it much easier to get through the selection process when you can articulate those facts and figures to whoever is doing the hiring or leasing of the space. So this is not just a gallery process. It is, however, not what my wife would call a real plan. I'm okay with that, and eventually the laughter will die down. Anyway, so I'm off to do my normal thing. Today it's stacking sheep. Have a good one.
Yay! Yay!
Hi everyone, it's Neville here again. Hey, just before I go, I want to remind you that we now have a new email address. It's info@theartwonk.com. And also the artwonk.com is our website, which we're in the process of getting set up with show notes and follow-up from the shows. So please get in contact with us if you have any questions or feedback, especially if you feel that I glossed over something that's of importance to you. Really would enjoy having that connection with you as somebody who's trying to be a creative in today's environment, and let me know if there's stuff that I'm missing out or stuff you'd like to know. So now I'm off to my studio. Happy creating!